you've been really active and vocal about something that's really important, which is Julian Assange.
Yeah.
Can you tell us why that case is so important to you? And also, on a related note, the case of Steven Donziger.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. On the Julian Assange issue, I talk, write a lot about the military industrial complex, about particularly secrecy within the American military, and particularly how, unlike when I was growing up, the American left seems to me to give too little attention to the issue of U.S. military imperialism specifically, and the military budget and so forth. So when I read what Assange had actually revealed, when I read about the collateral damage, when I read about the indiscriminate shooting into crowds on the part of
collateral murder, his video,
Blackwater mercenaries, when I read about the people who were killed at the checkpoints, how many of the men were trying to take women to the hospital, when I read about the horrors of the civilian deaths that we had not known about, then I realized that I myself had been not duped, but his personality wasn't of that interest to me, and I just kind of didn't go there. Once I realized that it's not just a case, and not that not that the First Amendment rights aren't everything, and they are, and I certainly was very aware of the Daniel Ellsberg case and so forth. So the more I read, the more I knew, the more I thought, wow. And of course, at that point, once you have 3 wows, you don't keep your mouth shut. So I haven't kept my mouth shut.
Yeah, and it's a really stunning story because it's so meta, because there's the Assange story and then there's the media silence. I mean, which is striking.
I think that there are so many ways in which we're simply not allowing our hearts to register the viciousness of the system when people challenge it these days. That's what we're talking about here. And at what point are you going to take a stand? And you asked before about Steven Donziger, and that's a very similar case in the sense of the viciousness. Whether you're talking about big oil, Chevron in the case of Steven Donziger, or the military industrial complex in the case of Julian Assange, you're talking about something very similar. And that is what happens when human rights activists, human rights lawyers, environmentalist lawyers, or journalists get really close to a serious substantive challenge that might actually be successful, and how they don't, and I know, of course, from my own experience, what they try to do is just erase you. What they try to do is just mock you, peripheralize you, make a joke, etc. But if you are successful in coming close to the bone, they come at you. And that is what has happened with Julian Assange. And that is what has happened with Steven Donziger. And we must stand up. And that's why you talk about Assange and Donziger. It's why I talk about Assange and Donziger. So many of our colleagues talk about Assange and Donziger. And at this point, both on the left and the right, people recognizing, my father used to say, what they can do to anybody, they can do to you.
Right.
And Steven Donziger has been under house arrest here in New York for over 700 days. This is outrageous.
Yeah.
And I don't think most Americans are aware that a huge multinational corporation like Chevron, that there's a loophole that actually allows them to use a U.S. courtroom to prosecute a private citizen. So I just think this is, you and I are women, and women know that, we're taught from the time we're little girls, if somebody attacks you in the alley, just start yelling and don't stop. We just need to start yelling and not stop.
Yeah.
About all these things. But what we have to do is to concentrate on principle.
Right.
The U.S. government had to drop its case against Daniel Ellsberg.
Right.
What they have now been caught doing in terms of their conspiring with Siggy Thordarson,
the hacker who we now know is lying,
is much worse than the plumbers during the Watergate scandal trying to break into Daniel Ellsberg's psychiatrist's office. What concerns me is that in those days, we really got that. We really got how important the Pentagon Papers were, and we got that the government overreached and that the government had to back off. That's what matters here. And remember, Barack Obama had decided not to go after Assange because he knew you're getting too close to basic First Amendment issues. And also, are you going to then go after the New York Times?
Right. The New York Times.
So it's interesting that Trump had said, I like WikiLeaks. Then, of course, once he was in, everybody
First
says
he said he should be executed.
Mhm.
Then he said he liked it. Then once he was in, right, Pompeo decided to pursue him,
Yeah,
right, in
yeah.
a way that Obama had not decided
Right,
to do.
right. And on his last day in office, did the appeal to the British government.
Right.
So
Yeah, really
if,
disgusting.
he didn't do anything, as Daniel Ellsberg, you and I both
Yeah.
interviewed Ellsberg.
Of the Pentagon Papers, just so everyone knows. Yeah.
Yes. And Julian Assange didn't do anything that Daniel Ellsberg didn't do.
Right.
I mean, he did what journalists do. This is a big, big deal. And once again, going back to the Donziger case, all of this is an effort to freeze dissent.
Yeah.
This is all an effort to freeze dissent. We have a corporatist agenda that is represented, whether it's big oil, military industrial complex, big ag, big chemical companies, health insurance companies, big pharma, the monopolies, corporate monopolies of these huge multinational corporate interests. Anyway, they're coming after, just like they want to, 700 days under house arrest.
Right.
For Steven Donziger. They want to throw him in prison for 6 months. All
for
of this,
winning and just so everyone knows, and people do because they watch the show, but
okay.
But just so everyone, in case they're tuning in, Donziger is under house arrest for helping win a settlement against Chevron.
Okay.
For poisoning the Amazon in Ecuador, basically.
But
right.
Let's talk about even what that was. This was in the 1960s. This was when Texaco, the then oil giant Texaco, in order to save $3 a pit.
Yeah, this is Texaco is what Chevron is now.
Well, Chevron bought
right.
Texaco.
Yeah.
Okay. So Ecuadorian environmental standards were less than ours, and we know that ours aren't high enough, right? But in order to save $3 a pit, these pits were completely unlined. They actually told these farmers, no, this oil is good for you to have it in the water. It's like milk. It's got vitamins in it. They poisoned the water of the Amazon there. They poisoned the land, poisoned the bodies. Thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of people's bodies that had been harmed by this, the rates of cancer, etc. When Steven Donziger and others tried to bring this to court in the United States, Chevron said, oh, we want it brought to Ecuador and we will stand by whatever the judgment is there. I guess they thought that they would have an easier time buying off people in Ecuador or whatever. There was a $9 billion judgment. Ecuador says, no, no. They could have cleaned this up so many times over by now. And their strategy is to go after Steven Donziger. Once again, much like, it's important that we see the parallel here between Donziger and Assange. It's saying to journalists and human rights activists and environmental lawyers, anybody who goes close to challenging the fundamentalist corporatist agenda, stop right there. And if you do not stop, we're coming after you.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening now. And that's why we have to stand up for these people.
We do now know that the main witness against Assange, because they had to focus on the hacking because of the New York Times problem, right, where they couldn't focus on the release of the news, because then all these places that the main witness, this guy who volunteered briefly at WikiLeaks, who they based almost all of the hacking stuff on, not only does he happen to be a literal pedophile and a diagnosed sociopath, okay, he has admitted that he lied.
Not only that, he clearly, what the U.S. government, what the Justice Department had said to him, they knew he was.
Right, of course, they offered it, yeah.
So and they offered him immunity because he was scared to death.
Yeah.
Turns out he had really no serious connection with Julian Assange anyway. And the Icelandic government has staged a complaint.
Yes. So again, just for the optics of it, just pretend that you care about this. You can even say to your friends and family who you want to impress, as, I don't know, going hard after WikiLeaks, you can say, oh, we really tried, but unfortunately there was a witness. I'm just giving Biden spitballing, giving him some options. You don't have to have egg on your face. You can do this without having egg on your face. So yeah, we're just trying to give you guys help with that.
Yeah, we're just trying to help the Biden administration.
Yeah, we're giving free comms tips to the Biden administration.
Are people saying nice things and happy birthday to us? Yeah.
This is cute. As much as Katie's duct tape and bubblegum production standards are sometimes annoying, I'm going to miss it if she improves her production quality. I'll keep watching either way. Thank you, I guess. Thank you. It's the donation, so I'll thank you for that.
I think it's cool that you're so GarageBand.
Thank you. Yeah, GarageBand. I like that. What else was I going to look at or say right now? Obama's policy on Assange was not to go after him. Yeah, exactly. Right.
Well, he knew that he was getting too close to the bone on First Amendment rights,
yes,
and that he would have to go after the New York Times.
Yeah. So Biden, we're talking to you. We
Uh,
know you're watching.
Everybody really look up the Steven
Yeah.
Donziger Defense Fund, I think it's called, freedonziger.org. Please look up the Donziger issue and do what you can. We want Merrick Garland to step in
Yes.
here
Yeah.
and take it away. It's ridiculous that a private corporation can actually use a U.S. courtroom
Right.
to prosecute a U.S. citizen. It should just be done through the courts. It's ridiculous.
And the office, the prosecutor, the federal, the what is it, the Southern District Prosecutor's Office wouldn't do it, and the judge assigned a private
Yeah,
corporate
loophole we were
law
talking
firm
about.
to prosecute
Mhm.
Donziger.